Flame Shoder. I'm a master certified coach and owner of a personal development coaching practice called Coach Flame.
And I'm Jeanne Ivy, a creative director, artist, and owner of the creative consultancy Ivy Magic. And together, Flame and I are
the Spark Sisters.
In the process of working with Flame as my coach, we discovered that we had complementary and kindred ideas about how to help others find their spark and own their unique place in the world. Eventually, we started talking about how we might share these ideas with others, tapping into the natural riffing style that happened whenever we talked.
And that's a glimpse into how the Spark Sisters podcast began. We have seen and felt the magic of learning to be authentic in our own lives. And that is at the heart of this podcast. We wanted to share the way that we did it, not so that you would do it our way, but because sometimes when you hear someone else say their way, then you discover your own. We want you to live from your authentic spark. Hello, everyone. Today, we are going to change things around a little bit here on the Spark Sisters podcast. And I, Flame, am going to kick things off instead of Jeanne because today's a very special day. We are going to hear Jeanne's authenticity story. I hope you're as excited as I am because I've had the great pleasure of being with Jeanne on a lot of the journey in her adulthood, but I don't know so much about the early parts of the journey. So that's where I'd like us to start, Jeanne. Before you were authentic, give us a little setup. Like, what was life like back then?
So the thing for me, I was realizing as I was thinking a little bit about this and that I knew it was coming up, something we haven't talked maybe as much about is what is the experience like when you don't feel like your authentic self is that great. And so for me, sort of my earliest journey with authenticity was feeling like anytime I was really being myself, I was told, nope, that's not the way a person is supposed to be. And that's too much or not enough. It's too sensitive. It's too wacky. It's too creative, or it's not creative enough, or it's not the way that people make a living, or, all of these too much and not enoughs. And I spent a very, very long time convinced that my authentic self was somehow broken and that I just didn't get it and that I was missing some sort of gene that everyone else was born with. And that anytime there was any sort of misfortune or tension in my life, it was because my authentic self just wasn't good. I don't really mean like good and evil good. Like I knew I wasn't evil, but like that my authentic self was not enough. And I would say that pretty early on, I knew that authenticity was supposed to be important. I mean, even think back to school and know thyself, to thine own self be true. We hear these messages in school and in our culture all the time, but believing them when you constantly feel like you're being smacked down, there's the really painful disconnect that happens there. So that has sort of been, until recently, sort of how authenticity played itself out in my life.
I can really relate to that, and I'm sure our listeners can too. Can you tell us a little bit more about what the experiences were, what the pain was, what the suffering was when you were in the disconnect?
I just felt kind of tired all the time. And with this sort of inexplicable depression. All the boxes were ticked off for having a nice life, a nice family, a nice career, all of these things. And something I constantly felt off, and I constantly felt like I did not belong, that I just didn't fit in anywhere that I was. And as I got older, I started finding small pockets where I didn't feel that way, a few friendships. Also, as I became a manager, I had a little bit more latitude to sort of create my own community and do things in the way that it felt true to me. But I could only do that for so long until the powers that be were like, that's not the way we do it.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be too much, not enough. And it's in my professional life, what's always so interesting to me. And I think that probably a lot of people experience this, is you interview for a job, and you get hired for that job. And you even hear the people that are hiring you say things like, you're so unique. You're a breath of fresh air. We love your perspective. And then it's sort of like that, I love you. You're perfect now. Change.
Right.
That sense of, oh, yes. Oh, we hired you because you're unique and different and a breath of fresh air. But now that you're here, we don't really, that's too much. Or not enough.
Do things the way we do them now that you're here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like, well, and it took me a very long time to realize what that dynamic was. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, wait a minute. Didn't you hire me for the very things that you're now telling me to silence?
Yeah. Confusing.
Yes. What is that about?
So you talk about these important relationships and sort of stepping into your power as a manager and realizing your influence. Was there one event that then sort of became the turning point in the authenticity journey for you? Or was it more like this slow?
Well, I would say this, that some of it was slow, but there was definitely a turning point. And there was a acceleration up until the turning point. And so this is sort of where you enter the journey a bit, Flame. It's been 3 years ago or so now, something like that. I think holiday-ish timeframe, 2018. And you and I had a few sessions together, and I was just talking about how miserable I was at work and how I thought I needed to do something different, but I didn't know what that was. And so I did this whole exercise where I created this sort of galaxy of note cards and all the things that I felt like I was good at and all the things that I wanted to do. And started looking at patterns and ways that I could maybe leave the life as an employee and become an entrepreneur myself. Because I came to the realization, well, if no one's going to make me feel like I can be authentic at work, maybe I need to create my own work for myself. And once I started realizing all the sort of skills and value that I had brought to projects over my career, I was like, oh, this is so much more than what my title has indicated. I can build something off this. Now, while I was doing that, in my whole galaxy of cards, there was this one category of cards that were things that I really loved and was passionate about, but didn't feel like I could make a living out of. And so I just put them to one side. And I was like, these are something that maybe these other cards, these practical cards, maybe they will one day enable me to get to the place I really want. I'll get back to that in a minute. Okay. But the point was, all of a sudden, it was like my authenticity was on the wall. What my values were, what I brought to the wall or what I brought to the world was there for me to see every day. And after I saw that, I couldn't unsee. And so work became harder. And I was in a challenging work situation. Another one of these things where I thought I was hired for one thing, and because I was one type of person and then wasn't. And so transitioned to this other job at the same company and thought, while I'm still sort of figuring things out about what I want to do next, I can do this other job. And I loved the team of people that I managed. I was able to write them permission slips to sort of be their authentic selves and saw them just do amazing things. And yet it just didn't feel like it was enough. And I was constantly stressed and I was starting to get physically sick. And by December 2019, I was like having full on meltdowns, not around other people, but I would get off of meetings and I would just like burst into tears and be on the floor. And just like, I am out of alignment and I am not being who I truly am. And yet at the same time, it was this contradiction of I'm not being who I truly am, but I also feel terrible about myself. I feel like I'm never enough. And I'm just kind of a horrible, broken person. The next month, January of 2020, just right before the pandemic hit, or it was just right at the cusp of when we started hearing news that something was going on in China. I traveled to Ireland for work, and the whole organization went and met for about a week to do some planning and team building. And it was just outside of Dublin. And so a few of us, including my best friend who worked in the same organization as I did, we decided we were going to go to Dublin a few days early. And so we did. And it was supposed to be like this fun little vacation. And it didn't end up being a vacation because we were all working almost not the entire time, but a big chunk of the time that was supposed to be our vacation time. And one of those nights, a few of us had dinner, and then various groups of people were then meeting up for drinks. And I excused myself. I said, I've got to go back to the hotel. And it was the darkest period of my life by far. I remember crossing over this bridge. It's nighttime and the city is glittering and it's a beautiful place. And I felt like I can't go on. And it's the closest to suicidal that I've ever felt. And I was back in my hotel room and I was just sobbing uncontrollably. And I somehow had the presence of mind to go, you're probably still jet lagged. Try to get some sleep. You may see things differently in the morning. And the next morning, I was like, I can't do this anymore. And that not do this no longer meant life. This meant stifling myself and not being my authentic self. I was like, holding myself back or trying to fit into someone's mold could actually kill me. It is a matter of my well-being and my survival to be my authentic self. And I know a lot of people don't have that dramatic of a journey. And also, by the way, I'm just going to put a plug in here. If you, listener, ever feel that sense of I cannot go on, There are crisis lines to call. There are helplines. Text is available. Get help. And maybe, Flame, you and I can put in some of the show notes some resources related to that. So pretty dramatic, but it was like it took me, that was my rock bottom in terms of authenticity. Like, I'm not going to make it. And of course, I had this sense while I was getting therapy and while I was getting coaching. And I did have to end up adding some medication into the mix because I was like, I know that I can't change things overnight. And so maybe I'm going to need a little bit of help getting through this. And that was something that for me was very helpful. But it was very clarifying to like, okay, let me get serious about this now. And how can I leave this situation and build a different kind of life for myself? And so started making changes to make that happen and started feeling lighter and more hopeful while still having this tension that I was still in this situation that I didn't feel like was allowing me to be authentic. I saw the light. I saw that I was on a positive trajectory. And so I eventually ended up leaving my job in January. And it was definitely a situation where there was some divine providence because the organization I was in had some restructuring. My role was then redundant. And so I was also, just when I was sort of thinking, it might be time to leave, having some sort of a little bit of extra cherry on top of a little package saying, okay, go and do that thing. Here's your package. Be on your way. And then I think what was interesting about that, and you've definitely seen this, Flame, just in conversations that we've been having, is having then the time and space away from voices, external voices telling me you're not good enough or you're too much. I was finally allowed to like really see, oh, okay, now that I'm not getting all this static, what really is here? And then coming back to that sort of section of my little galaxy of note cards that was off to the side and going, oh, there I am.
Oh my God.
There I am. There she is. She's all of those things. And the qualities that I was able to see qualities about myself that are really good and important and valuable, and see how I can craft a life around those. And so the business that I launched for myself is now even kind of shifting a little bit to align more with those things. And when I launched my business, one of the phrases that I used in a lot of my messaging was purveyor of pixie dust, because that's something that I've always loved to do in the teams that I've managed is help them be authentic, help them have the pixie dust to be their authentic selves.
To learn to fly.
And then to learn to fly. And then realizing in this period of time after I had left my job and had a little bit more time to think and breathe, oh, maybe the person that needs the pixie dust is me. And so now taking some time to give myself that pixie dust. I've been kind of reflecting on, I remember reading books in childhood, like early 80s. And there was this trope going on about mothers that had left their families to go find themselves. And I remember at the time going, that's terrible. How terrible. And now realizing when you have so many responsibilities, and I'm not a mother, so I don't have that category of responsibilities, but I have plenty on my plate. Or, especially when I was working in the kind of job I had. When you've got all that stuff going on, it can be very difficult to know who you actually are. And having some time and space for yourself all of a sudden brings things into focus. So that's sort of been my trajectory and where I'm at now. And I know things are still unfolding and coming into focus, which is a process that happens your entire life. But it's just, I wake up every morning and I'm excited about what I get to do or what I am becoming. Or not so much becoming, what I am realizing about myself and what I can be in the world.
Yeah.
And it is just, I feel healthier and less stressed and aligned with myself.
I can hear that the energy is really flowing, whether that's flowing in your physical self, flowing in your spiritual self, your emotional self. Like there's a lot of ease around it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you use the word realizing, I love that that's also the root of like reality. Like you're bringing it to earth, being it, but also doing it, demonstrating who you really are. So the thing that struck me in this part of the journey is that it seemed like there was a moment of clarity as you were building the constellation of sticky notes. Mm-hmm. And then that dark period after it was like the reckoning with the moment of clarity.
Yes. Yep. It absolutely was.
And I really wanted to thank you for sharing that, because I think so many of us get into that moment of reckoning and we start to self-medicate. We, do all these things to back off of the reckoning.
Yes.
It's so vulnerable. Yes. And we don't understand how it's going to come together on the other side of it. Mm-hmm. And we do feel sometimes suicidal or like it's just not going to work. I got to opt out. I got to pick a different goal, a different dream, a different plan, a different self.
Yeah.
And that doesn't end up working, of course. But for anyone who is feeling like they're in the dark night, part of the story, we hope that this podcast gives you all the more reason to reach out and get help, because it may be that the very best, most creative, most loving parts of yourself are the ones trying to get access to you.
Yes, for sure. And having coaching and therapy and a good supportive network of people and very, very small group of people, but powerful, that see me and value me for who I actually am and aren't trying to tell me things based on how they would do them, but instead want to help me honor my own journey. That was a little bit part of the reckoning too, is that I was having, some well-meaning friends try to edit me and try to say, oh, well, maybe you shouldn't do this, or maybe you shouldn't do that, or maybe you should do it this other way. And I was like, have you been paying attention at all? This is it's not helpful. The people that weren't supportive in allowing me to be my authentic self, I did have to put some distance there while I was waiting for the new thing to be born.
I can hear a beautiful distinction being made between people who, in their well-meaning, well-intentioned way, were trying to sort of fix you or like alleviate your discomfort.
Yeah.
And the really supportive people, the people who understood the true nature of support, and that was to see you for who you are and help to draw that out.
Yes. Yep.
Validate and normalize and empower that. Yeah, that's huge, isn't it?
It really is. It again comes back to this idea that I think we talked about a couple of episodes ago of, no, you're not only not looking for the people that just tell you what you want to hear. You're not actually really looking for the people that will tell you what you quote, quote, need to hear. You're looking at the people who will actually listen and see you and help you figure out what you need to be telling yourself.
Yeah.
And that's where the magic happens. And so I'm really thankful that I had people in my life that were there to support me and encourage me as I was figuring things out in my own time and in my own way.
So you had good support built on the foundation of a moment of clarity. And we haven't talked about this yet, but it sounds like you had a strong capacity for courage to be able to make that galaxy of sticky notes without editing it. So courage and community
Yes.
and clarity seem to be the things that are emerging for me as some of the fundamental pillars of this journey.
Yes. Yes, for sure. And I would also say, tied in with that courage is a sense of play. Like I tried to approach my galaxy with this doesn't have to be a big deal. Let's just make it fun. Let's just put, this is why I still haven't hung up pictures on this wall, because now I have a whole blank wall where I can just put things and I can use whatever color pens I want and I can arrange things and I can take things down and move them around. And so it was fun as well. And I just kept the pad or note cards and pen out. And sometimes when I was in that room or I was walking past it and an idea came up like, oh, this belongs on the wall too. And so I didn't make it a big deal. It was a very playful thing. And I think sometimes when we're in the space where we're trying to figure out what our dream is or our vision is, we forget that that should be a playful exercise, that it should be something that is big and juicy and fun.
Yeah, I can hear so much warmth and like inspiration and being in the flow, allowing whatever needs to happen.
Yeah. And the thing for me, Flame, that is just, and I sort of alluded to this a little bit earlier with my pixie dust metaphor, but all the things that I was doing for myself in getting to that moment of clarity and getting through the darkness were all the things that I had been doing as a manager and a mentor for other people. And all of a sudden it was like, you've already been doing this and you've seen how it has helped other people. Now it's time to turn those skills inward to myself.
That is a fundamental truth. I think some of us start inward and then are able to later take whatever good qualities and make them externalized. But I'm like you, I started, it's easier with everybody else. And then grew into, you mean all that wonderful, compassionate love that actually applies to me too. What a thought.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So that's the middle, the darkness and finding the light and moving toward it. So now that you're another year past that, how is your life different now than it was even last January?
It just feels freer. It feels happier. It feels calmer. And specifically around, I'll get where I need to go. And I'll have the things that I need to get where I need to go. And before then, I spent a lot of time and effort and energy around how's this going to work? How am I going to do this? How am I going to navigate this? Where am I? What?
Yeah, like really in the weeds.
Really in the weeds. And now, can I wake up every morning and I'm like, oh, my actual purpose for being here is to be my authentic self and see how that plays out in this day. And of course, it's not always perfect. And little behind the curtain for our listeners, Flame and I just had a discussion before we started the call about I'm currently in a situation where I'm running up against that. Oh, okay, I've made this discovery about who I actually am. And now how do I live this out in my sort of new professional life? And so it is a process.
Yeah.
But I think you probably also noticed, Flame, it's a lot easier to pull myself out of the mire than it had been before.
Do you feel like you have some confidence that you can get out of the mire and that actually helps you get out sooner?
Yes, 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 absolutely. And that confidence comes from having a much better sense of who I actually am and what I value.
Well, that sounds pretty perfect to me.
Yeah, it's just the best. It's just really, really lovely. And it's such a relief. It's such a relief to go from a year and a half from that moment, or almost a year and a half from that moment in Dublin when I thought I just can't do this anymore, to going, oh my gosh, life and the things I get to do in it are just so vivid and rich. And wow, there's so much that I get to do.
So clearly the personal impact on you is transformational.
Mm-hmm.
What are you seeing in your friends, your families, the communities that you're a part of? I know it's a little different because we're still in social distancing, but your authenticity, what impact is that having on those around you?
There have been comments about that I seem happier. The other thing, and I just realized I didn't actually put words to this. So that little sidebar section of my galaxy, what was really central to that was that I'm an artist. And so a lot of people in my career had known me as a writer and then as a creative director, but that I came up through the writing side. And that was something that I dealt with when I started my business. People kept wanting to hire me to be a writer. I'm like, I'm not a writer. I'm doing creative direction and sort of consulting now. But then coming to this realization that I'm actually an artist, and seeing people react to my art so positively, and people that I never would have expected to, and people who I really respect either their art or their taste. And so to sort of see, there's been sort of this external confirmation that I'm on the right path. And it's been like this pleasant surprise. Like I sort of thought, oh, I might get a bunch of static, a bunch of who does she think she is? She's a writer, stay in that box. And there may be people that are doing that. But to have all this other support and being like, oh yeah, oh, that's beautiful. Oh, I love this. To have that sort of confirmation that, oh, I am on to something here. Discovering and actually being my authentic self, it feels like it's creating its own sort of momentum and light.
Yeah, like it builds on itself.
Yeah.
In an upward spiral or a constructive way.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
How beautiful.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what's next.
Yeah, right? Like this is just the beginning.
Yeah. And I think you probably feel that way. Well, I don't know. You can tell me. That's, I think, something so beautiful about recognizing your own authenticity journey is when you get to a place of it feeling like a sense of adventure and it not feeling so much a struggle, but like, oh, what's around the bend? Or how can I be authentic in this new situation? Or where will my authenticity take me today? What doors are just waiting to be opened? It's like things become brighter and more open, and things feel like they're possible rather than everything feeling like a slog.
I don't know about for you. I totally relate to that. And for me, in my younger years, I would invest a lot of time or energy into something and it would happen. And then it would have this like letting the air out of the balloon deflated, like,
Yeah.
experience to it. And I'd go, dang. Whereas now, even if it's just some plants that I plant, some flowers I plant in the front of my house, it's like, oh, I love these. These are so good.
Yes.
And I'm like, gosh, this was a $25 investment. Why haven't I been doing this every year? And it was some kind of like limiting belief or the limits of what my authenticity could allow me to have. I don't even know how to say it really. But now I find that even the smallest little things tend to bring me great levels of satisfaction, joy. I have very meaningful work, as do you, so I notice that my life has a sense of meaning like every day.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's no amount of money that could buy that.
Yeah. True.
And I loved what you said something earlier that made me think of the word truth, like how close authenticity and truth are.
Yes.
And I think even from a young age, I wanted to know the truth. I wanted to be the truth. And now here we are being our true selves.
Yes. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that play is so huge for you.
Yeah, it is. It's like, again, like this is not just like a slog through my day. This is not, I am not working like a maniac and then being so tired that all I can do on the weekends is like just be a puddle on the couch.
Yeah, recover.
Yeah.
Yeah, what if life really was a playground? That would be pretty great.
It would be pretty great.
Seems like a miracle it doesn't seem possible in the beginning, I think.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing is that, I do think we are in an interesting time of truth and authenticity and like realizing that in years past, in decades past, that sense of you're not enough or you're too much was so tied in with some broken or skewed systems. And I think with the conversations that have opened up because of Me Too, and while this is not something that, I can't directly speak to since I'm not Black, but Black Lives Matters, and some of the conversations that have come out of that has shined truth on the fact that, we have these systems that are tamping down people's authenticity. And we are missing out on a lot of creativity and innovation because of that. And so these systems that are trying to box people in or telling them they're too much or not enough, it's really only benefiting a segment of the population, but not whole communities, our whole world. And so I think it's not a coincidence that my own sort of moment of clarity and building that galaxy came out of or came after Me Too. Because all of a sudden I was like, hearing some of these other women's stories and not always just about things having to do with assault or discrimination, but also just how women in the workplace are undermined or not listened to. All of a sudden I was like, all those things that they're describing, I've experienced that. All those times that I thought, I must be broken because I'm too much or not enough, that was because of a system that was going on. It had nothing to do with me. It had nothing to do with I'm not being resilient enough. It's because I was in a broken system. Yeah. I mean, yes, sometimes we have to take our own ownership of our behaviors or where we're at, but sometimes it's because of the systems that we're in, the systems that don't always allow us to be authentic.
No, because those systems, the end point of those systems, I think they started out as well-intentioned systems to some extent.
Yes.
And that they wanted to perpetuate society and they wanted to keep life going. they were not systems made to actually benefit people. And it's sort of an interesting fine line, right? Like, keeping people having babies is different than keeping people having happy families.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yep.
Little tweak. And I agree with you. We're in this awakening period where it's like, okay, yeah, I get that if we come from a scarcity mindset and it's all about survival, then we just want to figure out how can we pay people a minimum wage so that they can have babies and we can keep society going. And we're like, that's not good enough anymore.
Yeah.
And it's not okay for us to do it for people of some skin colors or some preferences or some race, whatever, some segment of the population. We
economic bracket.
Yeah, we need it for everyone. And there's plenty to go around. That's something my dad always taught me. There's plenty to go around. And there is.
Yes.
We live in a time of unprecedented abundance. So let's not only enjoy it, but the more we enjoy it and savor it, then we actually use less and give back more.
Yes.
This beautiful upward spiral. Not just for us personally, but for the communities we live in.
Our neighbors. Yeah.
Yeah. The world.
Oh, Flame. These chats have been the best.
Oh my God.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad we've done this, and I hope other people have been enjoying it. And, I know that we have other topics and hope to come back with some more seasons and diving into some other topics. But I'm so glad that we've been able to dive into this topic. And I'm really glad we've been able to share our stories with each other. And I will have to say personally, I am surprised I did not break down in tears while telling my story. But also I feel like, I've come to a place now where while certainly there were dark parts of my story, I don't feel like sad about it.
Yeah.
Because I can now see possibilities and I'm on the other side of it.
Yeah, that dark part is actually what brought out some of the very best in you. Isn't that the irony of being on a hero's journey, right?
Yes.
Without the darkness, we wouldn't access the light.
Yes.
So thank you for being so transparent and candid with us. I so admire that about you. And I can't wait for what we're going to do next.
Yeah, same here. Thank you so much, Flame.
You're welcome, Jeannie. Thank you. And thank you to all of our listeners. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Spark Sisters.
Today's episode included editing and original music from Podcast Edition. You can find them at podcastedition.com. If you'd like to learn more about this series or connect with us, visit sparksisterspodcast.com.